Julie and Keith's love has stood the test of time.
They were seen as a happy couple. I've been together for 36 years.
They just seemed to mesh.
But after 3 decades,
Who's Delilah?
deep restlessness seeps in.
It was the facade of a perfect marriage, but inside it was broken.
There's lust and greed, the fantasy of being somebody else, doing something else.
And a once fiery love is reduced to ash.
The left end of the home was completely consumed by fire.
It was not real. It just was not real.
Love may be blind and marriage bliss, but divorce is murder. Paducah, Kentucky is home to longtime couple Keith and Julie Griffith.
They had been together for years and years. They were together when they were in junior high school and high school, and they got married. And so far as I recall, they didn't really have any problems.
After raising 2 children during their 33-year marriage, these empty nesters are happily involved with their local church and its motorcycle group, the Faith Riders.
They seemed like they just went together. They just seemed to mesh.
Ooh, hey, you hippie. Someone needs a haircut.
Yeah, I was thinking of growing it. You know, you used to love it when it was long, remember?
Yeah, those days are long gone, Easy Rider. Thanks for the ride.
But they've started to drift apart.
I'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Ever since Keith retired from his job at the local water company to become a traveling salesman.
Majority of the time, he was on the road, 4 to 5 days out of the week, typically.
Even when he's home, Keith is busy with his side business.
He showed up one day at the country club with this really nice golf cart. He said he'd gone into selling golf carts on the side.
It's the perfect complement to his real love.
Yeah, let me show you how the pros do it, all right?
Yeah.
He was a very good golfer.
I don't believe this.
He could hit a golf ball 10 miles and was known for it.
Every weekend that he was home and the weather was good, he was playing golf somewhere. Golf was definitely his focus.
Meanwhile,
What a good girl. You give me that, Cleo.
Julie busies herself, pampering her 4-legged baby
Give me a kiss.
and spending time with the Faith Riders.
Hey, everybody. It's shake and bake sale day.
Keith was always out of town, so she was a lot more involved with the group than Keith was.
I got lots more of these.
Oh, there it is, Julie's famous lemonade. We can already count this fundraiser a success.
I'm just going to test it.
No, you have to pay for that. Oh, he is so cheeky.
Julie was one of those people that if life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. So if he was gone, she was gonna find something to do.
While Julie has a wide circle of friends, Keith is lonely on the road. So he strikes up conversations with the people he meets along the way.
Hey there. Nice looking machines you got in there.
Thanks for noticing. Oh, you mean the lawnmowers?
Yeah. Hi. Delilah.
Including Delilah Culver, a 47-year-old divorcee and Indiana resident.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
Casual conversation somehow turns into dinner.
Essentially, her work and his work at that time was similar.
It was just a business relationship or a friendship, so to speak.
Except for one tiny detail.
Divorce is really, really hard.
It's hard. Oh, yeah, it's weird. I don't know why I wear it. It's been a couple of years, and it just feels weird not having it.
Well, it's nice to meet someone who understands. I have a really, really early start tomorrow.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Let me get this.
Oh, all right.
Back at home, Keith sets out to be the best husband he can be, starting with his honey-do list.
Oh my gosh. Are you working on the deck?
Her deck was very important to her. She loved her deck.
What brought this on?
Well, I've been promising you this for years, Jules.
Thank you.
Take this.
Okay.
I think Keith did some of the things in the home to make it look like I'm still here, I'm still involved.
But despite the appearance of marital unity, Keith is not 100% there. He and Delilah still meet occasionally.
They would go to restaurants, maybe go to some bars and watch sports. They kind of acted like buddies.
Until Delilah's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
How about a nightcap back at the hotel?
At that time, Keith was overweight.
I'm actually seeing someone. His name's Calvin.
Of course. Yeah, would you like me to get you a cab?
No need. Thanks for the chocolates. I think it would be best if we didn't do this anymore.
Psychotherapist Stacy Kaiser and forensic psychologist Brian Russell see trouble ahead for Keith and Julie.
I suspect that Keith's behavior may be motivated by something that we see fairly often when people are disconnected in the empty nest phase of life, which is they come up with things to do that actually put further distance between themselves and their spouses.
Typically, affairs actually happen if there are two components, desire and opportunity. And Keith being away as a traveling salesman creates that opportunity in a higher level than he's ever had before. And so as long as the desire component is there, he's got the perfect package for betrayal.
It would be one thing if Keith appeared to be sort of reevaluating how he was going to spend the remaining years of his life and whether he was with the right person, with Julie. That doesn't appear to be what he's thinking. He appears to be thinking about trying to have a relationship outside of the marriage and still keep Julie in the dark at home. And that concerns me much more, that his mind is going to a, I want to have my cake and eat it too place.
Despite everything, Keith and Julie celebrate 35 years of marriage with a lavish cruise to the Caribbean.
Julie always wanted Keith to go. He never would go. And then suddenly they tell us that he's going on a cruise. We were really happy that they'd gone and done that and had such a good time.
But once the anniversary is over, the Griffiths are further apart than ever. Keith abandons the deck project.
He tore off the outside part and he just left it laying there.
Keith had removed all the deck boards, the flooring from the deck, which exposed the beams. And this went on for a couple of months.
You around this weekend?
I don't know what's going on this weekend. What's up?
Well, John said that he's not busy, and I thought that maybe you guys could work on the deck. Yeah, have some beer and some pizza and just kind of make it fun.
This weekend's no good for me, okay?
I said, I can come over whenever and help you with it. And it always puzzled me that, you know, he would never respond.
But he's offered to help.
Look, I said I'd get to it when I get to it, all right? Now just get off my back.
Nice and slow. Okay.
Instead of renovating his home, Keith focuses on renovating himself.
Oh, I'm proud.
In early 2013, he has gastric bypass surgery.
Doing good. Let's take those off. Oh my goodness, you're doing so well. Here, why don't you lie down? That's it. Okay.
His cholesterol was high. He was overweight. his sugar was high, and that would help all of that, which all made perfect sense.
Thanks, Jules.
No, of course.
His recovery is quick. In mere months, he springs back light as a feather.
He lost more than 100 pounds, and he was working at it. I mean, he'd get out and walk and walk and walk.
I was like, wow, I mean, what a transformation. And she's like, I know, didn't he look great? You know, I'm so proud for him.
But the new slim Keith is about to get caught in a web of deception that might not hold the weight of his lies.
It was very obvious that he thought, hey, I look pretty good now, and I know it.
Surprise.
There was nothing she could do, and she knew that.
Traveling salesman Keith Griffith loses more than 100 pounds, and Julie, his wife of 36 years, couldn't be more proud. But it doesn't take long for pride to turn to irritation.
You can look. She can't touch. Well, not yet at least.
We rarely went anywhere that someone didn't come over to him and go, Keith, is that you? I didn't recognize you. You've lost so much weight.
Before the surgery, he was just a really easygoing personality. But after the surgery, not so much. He had that aura of cockiness about him after he lost the weight.
What was that?
What?
Pathetic.
The tensions continue into the fall.
She was burning leaves, and they caught on fire. It moved into the woods quicker than she thought it was going to, and of course she was home alone. And she called Chuck Jordan.
Shoot. Chuck, I was burning some leaves and the woods have caught fire. What do I do?
I'm the Sunday school teacher, and I get a lot of calls from people in my Sunday school class about a lot of different things. I told Julie to call the fire department.
Yeah, right. Okay, sorry, just a little frantic here. Thanks.
Why didn't you call me?
You weren't here.
I bet you called Chuck.
He made that comment that he felt like he was losing Julie. Maybe it makes sense, is he was losing her to the church, to the class, to her the group of friends. That's the only thing I can come up with.
Keith! Keith, talk to me! What is going on? Keith!
Not now, Jules.
Would you let me in? Talk to me!
After more than 2 years of silence, Keith texts Delilah out of the blue.
Keith inquired with Delilah by asking, did you cast a spell on me, that he couldn't get her off of his mind?
Well, clearly he was still smitten with her, and he asked her to meet him at a very expensive restaurant, a steakhouse in Indianapolis, and they did.
Keith, is that you? You look fantastic.
I think by losing 100 pounds, I think that Keith was more attractive to Delilah.
Well, you look great too.
The pretext of dinner is to celebrate Delilah's first book.
To your literary career.
It's almost a perfect evening, except for frequent interruptions from Calvin.
Are you still,
No, it's over. He's just not accepting it.
She continued to take texts and get calls. The guy was calling her up and was just bugging her to death.
But, there. He's not going to bother us anymore.
It sort of propelled them into greater friendship that night, and they had just a great time.
Who's bothering you now?
Nobody at all.
In the following weeks, she and Keith ramp up their texts to one another.
Keith immediately began showering her with gifts, flowers, purses, jewelry. He was really pursuing her.
By the autumn of 2013, Keith's efforts to court Delilah appear to be paying off. To the point that Delilah accompanies Keith to have corrective laser eye surgery.
He wanted to do it up there where she could, take care of him. He was so close to that girl that he was not having sex with that he wanted her to do it. That was really peculiar.
She did not know that he was having it done.
Hey, Jules.
Hey!
Surprise. No glasses.
Wait, you got surgery?
In Indiana. It's amazing.
It was a complete surprise to Julie. She was aggravated, but there was nothing she could do, and she knew that.
His whole head and his life was someplace else, was someone else.
And shockingly, that someone else is now in the hospital. Keith rushes to Delilah's side in Indianapolis the very next day.
It was Calvin. Calvin, you scared me. What are you doing?
This Calvin guy tried to, forced her in the car with him and was threatening to kill her and all this kind of stuff.
Get in the car.
No, I am not getting into the car. This is... Stop! Stop!
I was so worried.
Keith has not been showing much regard or much interest in Julie's feelings for a long time. And yet, when Delilah is injured, Keith races to her side and he's being compassionate to Delilah because he wants something from Delilah. He's not being compassionate to Julie because he no longer wants anything from Julie.
Whether he loves one of these women or both of these women, what's very clear to me is that he's lying to both of these women. And so that tells me that there's a level of emotional detachment. There's a level of disrespect. There are people that would minimize what's going on between Keith and Delilah. They might call it a friendship. They might call it an affair of the heart that hasn't gone anywhere. But what I see is a ton of lies and a ton of betrayal.
Julie and Keith have always been tight-lipped about their marriage. But it's clear they're having problems.
When we were on vacation in November, he was always connected to his work. I always felt like he was there in person, but not there in his mind.
What is he doing?
Probably sexting a secret girlfriend.
She even made a joke about him having another girlfriend in one of his sales regions.
But there are other, more serious indications that something is wrong.
I'm sorry, Jules. I have to work on December 31st in Kentucky. They need me.
What, on New Year's Eve?
He said, I'm gonna be out of town over New Year's. I need you guys to entertain Julie.
Can take care of you.
And her reaction was, what traveling salesman works on New Year's Eve?
Really? Are you sure you have to work New Year's?
I have to take this call.
In hindsight, yes, I do think that she may have had suspicions.
Delilah, too, is growing suspicious.
I don't get it. What's going on, Keith? You just said that your wife is still on your insurance.
My ex-wife, I meant. obviously.
He let it slip that his wife and his ex-wife and he still shared an insurance policy. By that time, Mr. and Mrs. Griffith were supposed to have been divorced 5 years.
Why is she still on your insurance?
We were together a long time. Old habits.
Listen, if you want to be with me, you have to get her out of your life altogether, all right?
Keith told her he was a fixer. He said he would fix the problem.
In fact, he's ready to make a move.
I hate not being able to see you more. That we're so far apart. We could live in the same city.
But what will be the cost of his double-barreled deceit?
Like any wife would feel after 36 years of marriage, betrayed.
Fix it!
She would have confronted him, wondering where the money was.
Julie Griffith is beginning to suspect that Keith, her husband of 36 years, may be deceiving her. But she has no idea that he's pursuing another woman named Delilah. Winter brings on the new year and a fresh supply of marital problems when Keith returns home from his trip.
Happy New Year's, Jules.
Who's Delilah?
It was a card that had been sent to Keith by his other woman, his lady friend. And it was a little more than just a I'm a buddy card.
What can I say? My clients love me. Just like you, right? Right? Look, we have other things we need to talk about.
Keith's golf equipment business.
Like what?
Is bankrupt.
She did not know much about the finances. Keith paid the bills. Keith did the taxes.
We have no money.
What do you mean we don't have any money?
Look, we can't afford to fix the heater.
They'd been having the heater problems, and they had to get that heater replaced, or there would be carbon monoxide released in their home.
Well, you either explain to me why we can't afford it, or you fix it!
I'll fix it.
Tensions aren't just running high in the Griffith household. They're running high everywhere.
There were a series of burglaries, of residential burglaries in the area around the Griffiths' home.
There were extra patrols in all of the areas in the Reedland area during that point in time.
Despite the prowler, Keith doesn't hesitate to leave Julie at home by herself while he goes off on yet another business trip 3 hours north.
There was snow and ice on the road, and he sent her a picture of what he was driving through.
I think as far as Julie knew, he was on a regular sales trip. Nothing out of the ordinary.
But of course, it's not an ordinary trip at all. Keith is meeting Delilah.
He bought her things. He, not only gave her nice gifts, but he made car payments for her. He gave her money.
Julie would have been furious if she'd have known he was giving other people money when they were struggling.
That January night, Keith checks into his hotel room nearby around 9 p.m. alone.
See you tomorrow, all right?
You bet.
Good night.
At night.
220 miles away, Julie heads home from church, also alone. A few hours later, firefighters and police race to the Griffith property.
When the first responders arrived at the Griffith residence, it was a ball of fire. It was totally engulfed in flames.
We had no idea if anyone was or was not inside.
Hello?
I received a call at approximately 3:15 in the morning from Craig County Sheriff's Department.
Why? What's going on? Is she okay? Is she in there?
I just prayed to God that Julie wasn't in there.
Hey, I'm coming over right away.
So I got dressed, got my cruiser, and drove out to the scene.
In time to see the firefighters extinguish the last licks of flame.
She answered?
The whole left end of this house had been consumed by fire to the point to where there was not a single wall or stud left standing. It was just the foundation and the ashes there.
By the time firefighters had put the blaze out, there was pretty much nothing left.
Except 2 bodies.
There was a large dog that was a family pet, recovered from the master bedroom area, and that was among the ashes.
Tragically, Julie is pulled from the ashes too.
Julie was a very kind, sweet, gentle person. She was just a great lady that didn't deserve this. I called Keith on my cell phone to tell him that the house had burnt and Julie was dead.
It's just over 3 hours drive from Jeffersonville to Paducah.
When he pulled up to the scene of the fire in his truck, I got out of my cruiser and walked up to him, gave him a hug and told him I was sorry.
Keith. Of course, my husband and I are both losing it at that point. It was an emotional state I can't describe.
You know, you're always welcome to stay with us.
We'd just been with her. It was not real. It just was not real.
Keith has been away, and now he arrives at this horrific scene where his wife and his dog are dead, his house is destroyed. Everything that he has had for all of these years is now gone. I do think that he would be worrying what people would think about the fact that he was away when this happened.
I can imagine him feeling, for whatever love he still had in his heart for Julie, a sense of loss and sadness about that, but also because he was cheating and he clearly has wanted to disengage from the marriage for a long time, I can imagine him feeling a sense of maybe some freedom and relief out of it.
Fire marshals don't see any telltale signs of arson.
It was assumed that this was a heating unit fire, an accidental fire.
Except the autopsy on Julie's body reveals Julie did not die of smoke inhalation.
That was the pinnacle part of the investigation that completely changed everything. This was a homicide.
Julie Griffith and her dog Cleo appear to have died in a tragic house fire, until the autopsy on Julie's body reveals that she did not die of smoke inhalation.
It was determined that Julie had been shot 3 times in the torso.
Bullets found at the scene corroborate the autopsy's findings. Now police consider a new theory, that a prowler shot Julie in a break-in gone wrong.
Detectives were assigned to canvass the area, go door to door, trying to look for anyone that may have seen or heard anything.
The sheriff's office knocked on every door in the neighborhood to see if they could uncover any video recordings when this event happened that night.
The investigation takes another turn as deputies sift through what's left of the garage.
They collected 20 boxes of .45 caliber ammunition from the Griffiths' garage. It was the same caliber that was used to shoot Julie Griffith.
Police find several guns, but none that fire .45 caliber ammunition.
It just didn't make sense that he had so many guns, so much ammunition, but the one gun that would be missing would be the same type of caliber that Julie was shot with.
So what's the story with the ammunition? We didn't find a .45 caliber gun.
I heard there was going to be ammunition restrictions.
He was in fear that the government may institute some type of an ammunition control.
What time did you say you checked into your hotel last night?
9 p.m. Indiana time.
And did you go out at any time?
At 11 o'clock, I went for a soda.
I couldn't have been gone 30 minutes.
Okay.
And then I left again about 4 o'clock and just went and got a donut and a Coke.
You couldn't sleep? Something bothering you?
Not at all.
Now, one other thing. Can we see your phone?
Sure.
And when they turned it on, the first thing that popped up was a text from Delilah.
It just simply asked the question, did you make it home okay? After Keith had not responded, Delilah responded back, you're not answering, not good.
Who's Delilah?
A work friend. A buddy.
Do you delete text messages?
I do delete them. I just don't keep them. I mean, I don't keep any of them.
It was a little peculiar that that would be the first text message he would have ever gotten from her, and felt that there should have been a longer history of text threads.
Your wife Julie's messages go back a ways. Didn't want to save space there.
I mean, I'll keep hers on there till it gets, and I keep her generally because she's sending me pictures of the grandkids.
Okay.
What we learned from Keith Griffith's phone was we began seeing a picture of a marriage that had some secrets.
Well, thank you for your time. You're free to go.
Over the next few days, police begin checking Keith's story, starting with Delilah Culver.
One possibility that was concerning initially was, did she know about this murder? Was she involved in this murder?
Why am I here?
What's your relationship to Keith Griffith?
Well, I guess you could say we're dating.
Did you ever meet his wife, Julie?
No, you mean his ex-wife.
No, I mean his wife. The one who just died in a fire in their home.
She was in shock.
No, wait a minute. You're talking about Keith Griffith?
Mm-hmm.
She was emotionally devastated when she found out that he was married.
Delilah has to be in shock right now because whatever you'd imagine is going on in your relationship is not typically something as serious and potentially dangerous as this. And so if I'm Delilah, I'm rethinking our entire relationship and wondering what I might have missed, what he might have lied about. And I also am questioning myself, wondering if I was in denial, if I should have known.
I don't think Keith is probably that worried about the police finding out about the affair. I think he probably feels that whether or not he was having an affair with Delilah doesn't really prove or disprove anything about whether he was or wasn't the murderer.
Police learn that Delilah did not leave Indiana that night. So she's dropped as a person of interest. But they don't stop their investigation of Keith.
The detectives worked on getting a warrant to search his vehicle. One of the things found in his vehicle was he had a new insurance policy. That was really a matter of days old. And it was an insurance policy on Julie Griffith's life.
There's also an older policy on her life.
It was going to expire, but At the time, both policies was in place. You've got the insurance policies that are overlapping, both that would pay out a significant amount of money, not to mention the insurance on the home. Then you've got Delilah being a whole nother motive of being able to essentially start a new life in Indiana and have the financial backing to springboard that new life as a result of your insurance payouts.
Keith Griffith may have motive.
Yeah, I had a reservation. Keith Griffith.
But he also has an alibi.
Oh, look at that. 901. Thanks.
Until the hotel's security footage points to a much more complicated story.
You can clearly see Keith leaving the inn door. He's wearing a denim shirt that had his company logo. And then he returns 6.5 hours later, approximately, wearing a different outfit.
The convenience store has no record of anyone purchasing Keith's brand of soda that night. And the donut shop wasn't even open at the time he said he was there.
He stated where he was, but when law enforcement began to look into his alibi, they knew he was lying. We could prove he wasn't where he said he was, but we couldn't place him in Paducah.
Until they re-examine home security footage provided by neighbors. Police identify what looks to be Keith's vehicle 1 mile from his house, just before it burned to the ground.
He showed up in the area about 15 minutes before we thought the fire started, so the time frame fit perfectly.
Keith Griffith is charged with Julie's murder, plus arson, tampering with evidence, and animal cruelty.
I didn't do it!
The spouse is always the person that they suspect first. And I had to take it as that no, he did not do it.
I swear I'm innocent.
But they have something that makes them think that they do.
But when Keith stands trial a few months later,
Circuit Court in session, the Honorable Judge Hancock back presiding.
shocking secrets are revealed about his life that might just let Keith off the hook.
There was no smoking gun. There was no DNA.
The devil is after everybody. He never lets up.
Keith Griffith stands accused of killing his wife, Julie, their dog, Cleo, and of burning down the family home. He proclaims his innocence, even though police and prosecutors have shown his alibi is a lie.
Be seated, please.
When Keith stands trial 1 year later,
Did you lie to the police? I did.
he comes up with a whole new, sordid alibi.
Nobody knew what I was doing out on the road but me. And I didn't want anybody to know.
The reason you didn't see him go to this convenience store or to this donut shop is because he was out with prostitutes.
I was embarrassed and ashamed of what I was doing the night my wife died. Just trying to have a friend with benefits on the road.
We did a forensics examination of his computer, and we started seeing a life that involved adult dating sites, escorts, pornography. We learned that he not only had a girlfriend as another woman, but even a day or two before the fire, he was actually with an escort at another hotel. It was the facade of a perfect marriage. That marriage on the outside that looked perfect, but inside it was broken. Keith's defense was that he made mistakes. He had a life that he was embarrassed of on the road that dealt with other women and sex, but he wasn't a killer.
I'm still embarrassed and ashamed of all of it. Did you kill your wife? No, sir, I did not. I loved my wife.
It's hard to prove or disprove Keith's new story, leaving just enough room for reasonable doubt. The only piece of tangible evidence that Keith was in Paducah that night is one grainy surveillance video image.
Obviously, it was argued that that wasn't his vehicle at his trial.
Jury deliberations take just 5 hours.
8 jurists voted for conviction and 4 voted for acquittal. Because this was a capital case, the jury had to decide unanimously. And because they couldn't decide that, they declared a mistrial. They have to start over.
Except, in the end, they don't.
If there was one person, just one person that I wanted dead, it would be him.
A jailhouse informant comes forward to police to say he's got valuable information.
Keith Griffith had solicited that inmate to shoot one of the lead detectives on the case.
This is too good. You serious? Griffith told you to kill me and make it look like a home invasion?
He had been attempting to plan a hit to be placed on myself.
I mean, that is the craziest thing I ever heard of.
Okay. Here's what we're gonna do.
To verify the informant's story, police ask him to get it on tape.
He agreed to wear a wire.
I'm serious, man. If I can get rid of Matt Carter, I'm scot-free. And you will be a very rich man.
You know, they discussed in detail what he wanted done.
When we learned that Keith Griffith was actively trying to kill the lead detective, I realized that he is far more dangerous than I ever believed before.
Confronted with this new hard evidence against him, Keith makes a deal.
Keith Griffith agreed to plead guilty to charges of murder, first-degree arson, animal cruelty, tampering with physical evidence, and there was an added charge of solicitation to second-degree assault.
Police and prosecutors finally have a clear picture of what happened on the night of January 16th, 2014. After years of racking up debts on escorts and gifts for Delilah, Keith was desperate.
Keith didn't watch his money very closely, and even though he made a decent living, he was pretty impetuous. I'm sure they loved him in some of those nudie bars.
Killing Julie would wipe the slate clean.
He would just get rid of Julie and get with Delilah, and then everything would be good.
So he sets up his alibi.
I know one.
Then drives back to Paducah.
He arrives at the house. He gets out of his vehicle. He walks in the front door. He opens the bedroom door. Julie's in bed. He shoots her 3 times in the chest.
Cleo. Hey, sweetie, come here.
He lights the house on fire, and he gets in his vehicle, and he drives right back to the hotel.
On the way, Keith stashes his clothes at the nearest gas station and waits for news.
Chuck.
Keith.
It's a real kick in the teeth.
Best that I can recall, he said, this is a kick in the teeth. And I didn't see the emotion that I thought I should see from a husband that just lost his wife. The devil is after everybody. He never lets up. He'll find a weak spot. He'll use it. He never quits.
Here we're looking at a guy who was in a long-term marriage, raised children, had grandkids, held down a job, and seems to be an upstanding citizen. And yet, in the second half of his life, there's murder. And what that says to me is that probably All of this sociopathic behavior has been going on for years and years and years, and yet he was covering it up. He was getting away with it.
If you look at all of the steps, how much thinking through of this Keith must have done. His brain was working just fine, and he went right ahead and did it anyway so that he could get rid of his wife and have money and a chance to go on and have another life and relationship with another woman. The only thing more evil than that you can really think of is if he had done it just for the sheer pleasure of watching Julie suffer.
In January 2016, Keith is sentenced to 30 years in jail with no possibility of appeal.
He'll die in prison, and he deserves to die in prison, and he's going to die in prison without any pride or dignity.
It was a big shock. It was beyond the fact that I was betrayed and lied to, openly lied to. I don't know how to describe that feeling, but a little bit scary.
We thought we knew Keith and Julie. We thought we knew their relationship. We thought they were a happily married couple after 36 years. I don't think Julie ever really knew who she was married to because none of us knew.
He killed his wife. He killed my friend. He killed a great lady from our Sunday school class. And I miss her. We all miss her.